I knew this day would come. See, ever since I declared Titanium Megatron the worst Transformer of all time, I've been getting questions about this because I mentioned in that review I think it gets a really unfair rap. And I kind of touched on it there, but I knew it would lead to a full review one day, and it is one of the more heavily requested random reviews. So let's just go ahead and do it. Let's take a honest look at Energon Ironhide. First off, as you can see, he is a big, beefy SUV, although a little squat in proportions. Speaking of proportions, I want to point something out here. This is what a $20 figure looked like in, roundabouts 2004 or so. 2003, 2004. That's what $20 looks like today. Does anyone else feel a little bit sad now? Was it just me? Yeah, that's what I thought. I will admit, I haven't had him in vehicle mode in a while, and when I realized that, it just kind of just made me, made me sad inside. But it is big, burly. It is a very big, very hefty brick of a vehicle. And I kind of like it that way. I mean, for its design, because it looks very rugged off-road style vehicle, that seems quite appropriate. We will look at the details, and we will get to the ones that everyone's concerned with. Don't worry. I actually really do like the molding on the vehicle mode, because there is a lot going on here. I mean, for starters, you got these enormous headlights and bumpers going on with the brush guard and everything. This thing was meant to go through some really heavy terrain. You can also tell that by the heavy treads in the tires. On the sides, you can see a lot of the molding. Little, I don't even know what those are called. Now someone's going to correct me because I said I don't know what they were called. What always interested me about the molding on this toy was there are gas canisters molded in, but not painted. Which is weird, because they are obviously gas canisters. They are on both sides. So it's kind of a strange little detail to include. One thing I do like about the detail, though, there's a gas cap, but only on one side. That's a little bit of attention to detail, my friends. What? Don't do that anymore. Along the back, you can still see some of the bumper. And we do get into some of the robot mode kibble, but, that's neither here nor there. It's actually right here and there. So I don't mind it so much. You also have things like the big light bar here on the top. And that big light bar on the top. Okay, so the big floodlights and the AKA the boombox of doom. Yeah, this is probably one of the biggest sticking points to the toy. And in vehicle mode, yeah, that thing just sticks up and looks really, really goofy. There's a lot of reasons why I don't mind it, though. And the main reason is because this is where the toy stores its battery box and all of its electronics. Having them separate and stuck out like this means the toy itself does not suffer for its gimmicks. If you take a look at the other Autobot Mega class size, the Jetfire and the Cliff Jumper, they had some pretty rough and pretty not nearly as good engineering because they had to put their battery boxes inside the core of their body, which let them this big brick torso that really couldn't do a lot, and they had to work around. Here, it's all stored up there, so the robot itself can be as good as it is capable of being. And we will get to there. There is other details to discuss, like the most obvious of details. Yeah, this was the biggest sticking point and one of the biggest criticisms I saw for the toy, especially when people were requesting it for Plastic Addict. His robot mode head is completely visible. And I will admit, this is kind of inexcusable. Like, this is like a really... I really can't justify it. Like, I would love to come up with some explanation as to why they didn't try to hide his head in the least, but there you go. Now, the helmet does raise and lower, so there is a little... It hides the face a little bit, but you can still clearly see it. And I will admit, there's plenty of Transformers where the head is visible, it just blends into the vehicle better. Yeah, not so much here. If it could twist around and completely hide or something, or if there was like a flap or something panel that would go over, I could see that, but unfortunately, no, it does not. So, yes, that is a big detraction on the toy's vehicle mode. But honestly, like, that's as bad as it gets. I mean, you look at everything else, the vehicle mode is perfectly fine. In fact, the big boombox of doom has added function, as it's also a full rotation turret for both the extra gun and the missile launcher, which I will not be demonstrating because, as always, if you fire off a missile and you're not paying attention to where it goes, you immediately lose about 40% of the resale value on the toy. And with Energon Ironhide, that's $150 you can't do without. So it's going to stay right where it is. Well, actually, it's not, because it gets in the way a lot. So I'm actually going to take the missile out for the rest of the review. That way, you have a better chance of actually seeing his face. Because one thing I don't like about the... Well, we'll get to that in robot mode, I guess. You'll also notice it's not making any noise here. That's because the batteries have mercifully been removed for this review. Now, if you want to actually know, imagine this like little mechanical turning noise for every one of those little clicks. Every one of those little clicks activates that noise. It's a little mechanical chirp, 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 and okay, that you don't want to know. You don't want to know what it sounds like. That's the soundtrack to my own personal purgatory. I don't want to curse you guys with that. So let's just do what this toy is good at, and we'll transform him, because he is a transformer. So of course we have to transform him. So he's from the age of engineering that made sense. So he's nice and quick to transform, and I'm not gonna pop anything off of him like I did a little bit more recently. So as you can see, it all is pretty efficient. Everything just kind of unfolds correctly. All goes into its place. You don't need 1,000 tabs interlocking. I miss mid-2000s engineering that was really, really good at keeping all that intact and keeping the transformation simple and efficient, but still fun and enjoyable. And he does a good job transforming, as you can see, because we're already done. This is the robot mode, and I'm such a fan of the robot mode on this toy. Like, seriously, there's a lot of the design elements that really do it for me here. I like the big, wide shoulder guards. I like big, spiky shoulders that go outward. You know, I like having a little bit above the head, you know, and a little bit going on above there. There, you can see his forearms, thick, powerful, feet. Okay, so bunch of vehicle mode kibble. I will admit, the legs are kind of bulbous and huge. But, I don't know, he's this big, bulky character. Like, he was supposed to be this young powerhouse character, which for a young Transformer character is really different. You know, the only problem character-wise is he was kind of insufferable in the cartoon. Which I think that's really one of the reasons why the toy gets so much flack and shelf-warmed for so much. It's really hard to like him in the dub. Now, in the subs, he's much better. Like in the original Japanese, not so much in the American version. But what he is here is actually pretty good. Now that his head is supposed to be seen, I will actually try to give you a look at it, and you'll excuse me as I actually have to unclamp a light in order for you to actually get a good look at the head. It's got a lot going on. You know, that the helmet with the bolts sticking out the side, and he's got kind of the traditional big chin and big, I'm not even sure what you call those sections of the helmet, but he's got them. There's a lot of classic look to him. So I actually am a fan of the head design. It's still unique. Like, I still haven't seen one like that. And hang on as I reclamp light. Okay, there we go. And back to our review as scheduled. Now, the rest of the detailing, a lot of it does carry over from the vehicle mode. You can see in the legs here. But everything in the torso is brand new. And I'm really a fan of this. I like what they did here because this is not painted. These are individual pieces that were attached in. This is the kind of funding they had back in the mid-2000s, where they could make separate tiny little parts just to get the color across. I like the big Autobot logo with the white border, silver down the midsection. I like a little bit of gold here and there, and it plays well with the tan colors. That's one thing about this release that kind of showed Hasbro mentality. Whenever they could in the mid-2000s, they steered clear of doing any kind of gray plastic. The original Japanese version, all of this was gray. And it actually solidified the color scheme between the red and the blue a lot better. That said, red, blue, and silver, that's Optimus Prime, that's Starscream, and in a way I kind of appreciate that Hasbro went with the tan instead, because it gives him a little bit more character of his own. So that's all well and good. Articulation-wise, you see universal shoulders with good ratchets in them, ball-jointed elbows, very nice. This all still rotates, and thankfully we hadn't put the batteries back in yet. Universal hips, good knee range, and you do have some play in both the heel spur as well as the foot, which has 2 hinges actually, for added posability. No waist, no thigh rotation. Well, actually, yeah, he does have it just below the knee. So I do apologize. I almost forgot. I'm doing better. So thankful it doesn't make noise. But there you go. Like, very solid figure for the times. Like, I'm actually, like, quite happy with this figure. There are a few things to point out. This gun at the top looks like it should come out and act as a handgun. It does not. Also, this does activate a missile firing sound effect when pulled back, which I actually kind of like as the missile firing. Just kind of hold up. Oh! I just told everyone I wasn't going to break anything on this review. Ugh, why you had to... I finally give you your moment in the spotlight. You make a liar out of me. How dare you? It actually just kind of pegs in, so actually, if you wanted it... see, does it fit? Hang on, now I'm curious. No. Okay. Because that's a missed opportunity there. Like, as long as it just pegged in, you might as well just give it the normal handhold so you could actually use it as a gun. But... of course, this is an Energon Autobot, so we have more modes that we have to show off, and I will demonstrate them very quickly, because I don't want this review to run too long. I mean, it's just Energon Ironhide, after all. First, we'll go into the leg mode, which requires us to pop the torso, rotate that down, and get all of this out of the way. And then for the legs, we flip to the side, rotate around, fold all of that up, and then fold out a foot. And we do the same thing to the other side. Boom, bada boom. And in kind of a nutshell-ish, if you will. Here we can kind of rotate. I'm trying to get kibble out of the way, because this was the biggest problem with Energon Autobots. The leg modes almost always had obscene amounts of kibble hanging off their butt. And Energon Ironhide was one of the worst examples because it's his entire torso hanging off the back. And I think the Mega Class especially did that a lot. Like, it got really, really bad sometimes. But I'm actually quite a fan of how the legs look. Like, if you ignore the big chunk behind them, they are really good, powerful looking legs. I know people who prefer this as his normal robot legs, just to kind of get that bulk out of the way. Yeah, he ends up kind of RID Ultra Magnus, like super long-legged, but it does look a little bit more like your standard Transformer legs. And you do still have all this lovely articulation going on in the legs, which made him really good at posing, just as long as he could keep balance. But that was the other thing that made him a good set of legs. Look at the size of those feet. Like, there's no, it's not like the others where it's like a folded down heel spur or anything that could fold back up because of the weight or when it's falling backwards or anything. That's big and solid. Like, that's not going anywhere. So that's actually one of the better engineered leg modes. All right, so let's get him out of pants, and we'll get him into shirt mode, which is largely the same process. Here we will split the pelvis. Hang on, we will get these arms back to the rear. Hang on. All this back, and then, boom. There we go. And now we can mess with the arms again. Get this all back down and hold it away. These double hinges get kind of annoying, but you work with what you're given, and I'm given double hinges, and I'm gonna make them work. And then we will, here, just to give you an example, because this is the part that I really like about the toy. There you have Energon Ironhide's torso mode, which honestly is, I'm being completely honest here, this is probably my favorite torso mode of any size class, deluxe or mega. This is really, really good. I like how they use the pelvis and those big shoulder guards together to make these big, powerful looking shoulders. Keeps the good chest details in here, brings the silver up to kind of give it more detail. And hey, look, you've got those universal hips that are really well ratcheted and can hold those big, meaty fists that he's been given in this mode. He's actually really good, and the best part about him, that's all the back kibble. That's it. And if that's in your way, just that's it. That's all you do. You just fold it up, fold it all anywhere you want. There's even the ball joints if you want to really get it out of the way. Look at that. That's a really well done torso mode. And honestly, guys, I feel like the leg mode, I didn't have anything prepared, but I really want you guys just to see just how good he looks as a torso. So I've prepared a set of legs to go with him and complete the Power Links experience. That is perfection, my Huggabutts. I'm kind of joking, but I'm kind of not, because it's the same shade of blue and the white. I mean, even the little gold touches and beige, they're the same colors. It works together. It's in this really, really bizarre Beast Machines Rat Trap kind of way. Okay, I'm kind of being goofy now. I will say, yes, it has its flaws. The head is very visible in vehicle mode, and the big floodlights can be really off-putting. I kind of like how they work in robot mode. I'm sorry, I kind of do. And the utility of it really makes me happy, because having that battery pack up there, having all this out of the way, makes all of this work so well, because they don't have to worry about this big chunk block in the middle of the toy that they always have to deal with. Instead, he gets to be a really good torso, good set of legs, and honestly, probably one of the better Mega Class robots in that toy line. I'm really big on Energon Ironhide when a lot of people are not, and that is why he is not a plastic addict victim. Yeah, people dig on him because of the characterization in the show. People dig on him because that head is still visible no matter what you do. But at the end of the day, the toy is just not bad enough for plastic addict.